The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not representative of the opinions and doctrine of Morris Community Church. We reserve the right to change our minds, and we reserve the right to be wrong. Welcome to the Roasted Christian Podcast. I'm Bobby.
I'm John. Here at the Roasted Christian, we like our ideas the way we like our coffee. Roasted.
Welcome, Roasted Christian listeners, again for another episode of our podcast.
Fateful day.
On this fateful day. Today
We're not going there yet.
Yeah. What is is there a name for the day after Election Day? Like Judgment Day?
One of our good friends' birthdays, actually.
Who's that?
Carrie. Avi Saleh.
Yeah. It's her birthday today.
I'm curious if her birthday is happy or not.
Yeah. Tear.
What do we got for chit chat?
All right. Well, looks like you want to talk about one of three. Like you have three things and one thing I could care less. Blair Walsh. Tell me about Blair Walsh and the Vikings.
I mean, this is another depressing subject that I don't really want to talk much about, but he was just apparently being reevaluated. And so there was an article with all of his stats and how many ridiculously easy field goals he's missed.
Mm-hmm.
P.S. He's the kicker for the Vikings.
Yeah.
We didn't mention that part. I really think...
What are you doing, Gabe? Gabe's hiding behind... Is it with your head like totally in the way? Like go over there a little bit. It's okay. Go over there. We've already made a deal of it. Like get over there a little bit. There's Gabe. yeah, right. All zero of
all
them.
The likes floating across the screen.
We should have been doing this through a computer, so that way you could actually like monitor it.
That'd
and
be
crap.
Easier. Okay.
Maybe I can join and watch. There's people watching. Is there really?
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch ourselves right now. This is weird. Okay, go.
Blair Walsh, kicker for the Vikings. I have long thought that he is not a great part of our team. Which is putting it very kindly.
He's not a great part of the team.
No. There are a lot of people who defend him.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically speaking, he's okay. But when they evaluated him, it kind of depends on the stats, I guess. When they evaluated him, the article that came out was like he's missed 4 field goals within a certain length. I don't remember any of the details. Basically, he is a kicker who's been missing a lot, so they were going to look at a bunch of different options. And then Zimmer, after the whole thing, was like, well, I guess we're sticking with Walsh.
Yeah.
And
wasn't that like a day later, too? Like a day or two later?
So I don't know.
Did they get like some high school kid and hope like he could just like magically kick some field goals? Or like, well, I guess we'll stick with Walsh.
I don't know if it was just like lip service to get people to shut up and like quit complaining. Like we looked at him and he's fine, but I don't think they did because I don't know. It's my own personal thing. I know a lot of people who like him and defend him, and I think he's terrible. And if it comes down to a matter of 3 points or less,
see,
for us to win the game, like we can't really count on him.
My perspective on kickers is I think they just in general are always going to get a bad rap because their like time in the game is nanoseconds compared to everybody else. If you had a left tackle, who had like 3 sacks go against him in a game, most of the time the team's not thinking about, wow, we got to replace this guy. Like because for 65 other plays of the game, like the guy succeeded. Whereas the kicker, if he misses 1 out of 5, field goals or something like that, or 1 out of 10, what is his stats? Do you have them up?
No, I don't.
Get his stats up for percentages because it's hard because you got to come through in the clutch. I mean, it's kind of like it's the nature of the beast is you have to come through. But at the same time, I'm like, kickers across the entire league are having a struggle. So
So career long, 2012 to 2016, he's just fine. Mm-hmm. He's made 133 of his 158 kicks. So we don't have a problem with that.
On the whole, he's fine.
The problem is 2016, I think, is pretty awful. Well, okay.
Yep, get there, Johnny. Start backtracking.
12 in the regular season. He has made 12 of his 16 field goal attempts.
So he's only missed 4. What's that percentage? 75%.
The problem is, if you look at the long field goals this season, there are 3 above 40 yards. Otherwise, there's a 31, a 19, a 30, and a 33. And to my mind, if you're not making those all day long, there's still a problem. Like, even if you're making 2 out of 3 kicks, that's fine if you're making field goals, beyond like 40 yards, and that's the only place you can get them. Our problem is we have one of the worst red zone scoring offenses in the league. So we have to make field goals from like 10, 15 yards out, and he can't do them. So
I think the problem is probably not Blair Walsh. The problem now is the confidence in Blair Walsh. Everybody on the team,
that plays a part for sure.
The coach, himself, the players on the team. It's like, all right, field goal, and everybody goes, "Oh boy." At that point already, it's
the
like
entire stadium is like
he's just screwed, right? I mean, it's just, and I feel bad for the guy because of the stupid questions he repeatedly gets asked, like, so how did it feel off the foot? Like, did you feel any pressure on the kick? Are you disappointed that you're missing kicks? It's like, duh. So I don't know. I feel bad for the guy, but yeah, maybe it's time. Maybe it's just time, even whether or not he's doing well. The perception is he's not doing well, so it may just be time to.
Yeah, that's my perception.
It's kind of like a coach almost too. Like, if the perception is the coach isn't doing something, regardless of whether or not he actually is doing that, sometimes you just got to get rid of him.
In tough spots. A lot of it comes down to public opinion, like even if he's not to blame or whatever. I think we could do better in someone else. Obviously, it's not my call to make.
All right, Mars bars, like the planet. What are we talking about?
Well,
Elon Muskin?
Yeah, kind of. I saw a blurb on TV. They're starting this the Mars series. And I don't know how fictional it is. I think they're talking about their like plans to go.
Isn't it by 2020 Elon Musk wants to have a person on Mars?
2030 will be like
2020. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah. 2030 I think is like colonization time.
Holy nightmare.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's bananas.
Does anybody think that's a good idea?
I mean, sign me up. Like, I think
I know you wanted to evangelize and be a missionary, John, but I don't think Mars is the place you should be thinking about.
Hey, man, if I just get one person saved on Mars, that's pretty much
well, you're
my
in a
job is
capsule
done.
for like 4 months with these people going to Mars.
Yeah,
you're like,
man.
they ain't going nowhere.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to them about the Lord.
No,
Closest they've ever been.
It's probably pretty irrational, but like if I didn't have like familial ties and stuff to Earth, like sign me up in a heartbeat. Like I would love nothing else than like being on another planet.
So,
and it's not because I hate
it's
Earth.
It's like almost like the Trump article. Like,
right?
Oh, I would like nothing else to be on a different planet, but it's Mars, though, right? Like maybe I could see that point, but that's Mars. Like if it was an habitable planet where you could like walk around and swim around, and you don't need a spacesuit in order to just exist there.
Ideally,
maybe that's a different story.
There's
but
a moon
Mars.
on Jupiter or something that we can colonize and breathe the air and walk around, and that would be like 100 times cooler than Mars. But Mars is still really awesome. Like there was a book.
I don't think it's awesome. I think it's a red planet of death.
There was a book that came out a couple of years ago called The Martian, and they made a movie about it.
I still haven't seen the movie.
And it's really cool. Like the whole time, well, I listened to the book because I got the audiobook. And the whole time I was just super, super giddy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is so cool.
I got to watch the movie.
So, yeah, I mean, not for everybody, but I think the idea of actually like having people live on Mars is just freaking sweet.
That's different. Like having people be there is different. Wanting to be one of those people is just a completely different animal, I think.
All right, well.
Like if other people want to go and research and be like, yeah, we got people on Mars right now. That's a pretty cool thing. I mean, basically like, hey, we went to the moon and back. There is a very, very, very cool element about that, but definitely not to the point of like, man, I wish I was one of those people almost dying all the time, like wherever I'm at, and no one will hear me scream. Like that's
you just watch too many movies, Bob. There's
maybe your desire for Mars is because you watch too many movies.
Oh, maybe. There's a movie, I think it's called Red Planet, maybe, with Liev Schreiber.
Oh yeah,
I really want to see that
That's
one,
a good one.
but it looks super intense.
Yeah, it is. That's
okay. Also Elon Musk-ish. He just announced these solar panel roofing plates.
Yes,
that are bananas.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
He had a shatter test with like it was slate and one other kind of roofing material. It's also pretty brittle, so it like he skewed the example a little bit. And then he had these solar panel plates, and he dropped a giant rock on them, and the solar panels were fine.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, crazy to think about. So I mean, I get like, we have coal, we have like natural gas, all that kind of stuff. Like, let's use it. I'm not super concerned. But the idea of your whatever you decide to roof your house with, powering your coffee maker and water heater and stuff is like, dude, how could you not?
Very in favor of the let's put some batteries in the house, and power your own stuff from the like that. Wow, does that just seem like the smartest ideas? We're just going to use the energy that we're naturally given by the sun.
Yep.
And probably God's been just sitting up there like, I wonder when these idiots are going to figure it out. Like, hello? Like, I'm giving you the sun to power everything you want. Why haven't you harnessed this yet?
That's actually a really good point. Like, I think we tend to think because we've had coal as an energy source for so long that it's like one of the only God-given resources. Yeah. I think we just haven't figured out how to tap solar
As soon as people started going like, let's go to the ground and figure stuff out, he's like, why aren't you looking up like all day long?
It's the first thing I made, you idiots. Like, hello. But somebody said like if we even figured out how to like without any loss harness like 1% of what we get per day of the sun, like it would power everything.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
I am very much in favor of the battery operated everything house. Yeah. Now there's probably a whole slew of like problems with the creation of batteries and the disposal of batteries and the whole nother conversation piece. But on the face of it, like energy in general, if we can harness the energy that's given to us by the sun on a much wider scale, we're probably going to be ending up a lot better, even with the negative effects of
because we got to leave some fossil
batteries.
Fuels left over for when like there's a zombie apocalypse and
we need something
is ruined and we have to start over again.
Exactly.
We need some stuff left over.
We need some slaves. What are the slaves going to do? I mean, just come on. Okay. That is some chit-chatting notes, and now, John, I think we're going to one of our goals is to emphasize a little bit more the coffee element. We got some great feedback from some listeners. Shout out to Mr. Trevor and Jen Seals about coffee and why do we like it? Why does John like it? John knows more than the average bear, and we want to hear from John. So I think it's time for all of us to hold hands and walk on over to John's Coffee Corner.
Well, today in John's Coffee Corner, we're going to talk about the different ways of brewing coffee. And I thought it would be cool to basically take the processes of the coffee making.
Do you notice how you got like quieter just a little
Sorry.
bit? You just went...
Thought it'd be cool to take the processes of coffee making in reverse.
Okay.
So starting kind of with the final product and looking at each process and going backwards.
Okay.
Hopefully over the next few episodes, and then ending up with like the coffee berry and where it comes from and all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to talk about the different ways of brewing coffee, and there probably are more than what I will list, but I'm going to give you the big ones.
Okay.
So the first way of brewing coffee, and we are coming from this assuming that you're not putting any weird additives in your coffee.
Yeah.
We're just talking about
It's
coffee.
no longer coffee anymore,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So,
it's not coffee anymore. It's something else.
Using that as the starting / ending point,
Mhm.
we'll take one step back and go to the brewing. Okay. So by far the most popular is the percolator, drip brewer, whatever you want to call it. It's reliable. You kind of just put the grounds in and you do it. You can find them all over the place.
Gabe, your faces, man. Just
Wait, are we still live, by the way?
yeah, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we get to the fresh roast, we'll cut off the live.
Yeah,
so that way
we don't want any.
we don't want to tease
live hate.
We're gonna be live hate.
All right, let's see. Okay, it's one of the least messy options. Basically, you pick up the deal with the grounds and you dump it in the trash when you're done, and it's pretty maintenance free. It does, I think, waste a little bit of coffee, especially if you're only doing like 4 cups or whatever, because of the rate that it takes the water and pushes it through the beans. Leaves a lot to be desired when you're doing less than 12 cups. And there are some, like I've got a Cuisinart thing that you can push a button for the 1 to 4 cup option, and then it's like a slower release deal, so you get a higher concentration.
Do you have to then focus on how much grounds you're putting in differently based on the cup options, or what?
I would use the same. It just uses the same amount better. You could probably get away with less, maybe, but okay. So that's the percolator. It's not efficient with the bean usage as much, and it tends to be more acidic, and I'm not sure why exactly. We could get into the science for next episode, I guess.
There's some cool, if you YouTube just even like scientifically brewing coffee.
Yeah.
There's some cool YouTube videos of guys who have made different, like the perfect coffee system of how they do brewing their coffee. Like you need this amount of grounds for this amount of water, brewed at this temperature,
like for saturation.
Yeah, like the whole spiel. So
Dang.
There's some cool YouTube videos about things like that. So.
All right, number 2, French press.
All right, describe what a French press is, because I bet you a lot of listeners are like, I've heard of this, but I have no idea what it is.
It is a glass or plastic canister that you put the beans in, and then you put...
Beans or grounds?
Grounds, sorry. And the grounds should be chunkier than what you do in a percolator, because the filter is not quite as fine on a French press. Okay. So make sure you do that. You put the grounds in, measure it out, then you put boiling or just under boiling water in there. Stir it around, you let it steep, and then you plunge the filter through. Gets 99% of the grounds out. So this one is a give and take too.
No, I think my wife has one. Is this where everything goes on the bottom and you pour the water on top, and then you pull up like with the grounds through, or is it something you push down? I'm trying to remember how it works.
The plunger has the filter on the end of the rod, and you pull the plunger up, and then you put the cap on, and then you plunge down. Okay. So that the grounds stay at the bottom, the coffee water is on top. Okay. And then you pour it out. There might be other systems where the beans are at the top, maybe. That seems to me like it wouldn't work as well, but I don't know. Okay, so the advantages of a French press system is that the coffee is generally smoother and richer because there's like direct contact with the water. Yeah. It's less acidic generally. Again, not totally sure why. Problems with the French press. It is messy. Cleaning that thing out is just not very fun. So I'm not a big fan. It's a little bit putzier. You've got to heat up the water separately, pour it into the French press. You've got to time it yourself. And I mean, unless there are magical French press things that hold 12 cups of coffee, it's generally a smaller serving, like single serving
Yep.
type deals.
Yeah, Whitney does that because then it's a lot less that you have to make for just her in the
True.
morning.
It is more efficient if it's just you. I'm not a fan of the sludge. You almost always get sludge on the bottom of your cup with a French press. I know a lot of people who think it's worth it because the coffee really does taste better.
Sure.
I'm not sure why that is. Okay, next one, cold press.
Ooh, what's a cold press?
You can do this a lot of different ways, but basically the heat in the water that you pour in coffee regularly extracts the flavors faster.
Okay.
Some people don't like the speed, and maybe scientifically you could prove that it's not good for the coffee to be like basically boiled out into the water. So what some people do is do cold press, and you can either stick it in the fridge and do it, or you can just set it on your counter and use lukewarm water. But basically the coffee sits in the water, the grounds in the water, for like 24 hours.
Whoa.
And then you filter it out, and then you can do what you want with it. You can heat it up. You can leave it in the fridge, and it's cold.
Later.
Yeah, that to me is a little weird. I think a lot of people who do cold press actually just drink their coffee lukewarm, because what you do is you get, it's like a concentrate.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so it's not lukewarm. You can do like lukewarm espresso or whatever if you want, but it creates a concentrate. So basically you have to measure out how much concentrate you're using for how much water, and you heat up the water, and then you pour the concentrate in the water. So you wind up with not reheated coffee. So it still tastes good. But that to me is the putziest thing.
So you would have the thing that you did the cold pressing with. You'd have
your like
that's what you're saying is a concentrated amount of coffee.
Yep.
Then you would have really hot water.
Yep.
And then you would say, okay, how much concentrate did I pour in? Basically, you're mixing your
you put like an
heavy
espresso
coffee
shot basically in with hot water.
Okay.
So what is that? Is that an Americano?
That's close to it. I think that's an Americano, yeah.
Maybe they do cream instead of water. I don't know. You could do either way. So the cold press gives you options. I know a lot of people do it just for cold coffee in the summertime. You can use it for regular coffee too. It is strong.
Yep. But Cafe Americano is espresso added with hot water.
Yep. Okay. Method number 4 is the Keurig. Lately very, very popular because it takes zero amounts of effort. You just push a button, and then a little bit later you push another button, and then you're good to go. I really, really don't like it. I don't think it tastes very good. It's really expensive. It's kind of on the slow side for how much coffee comes out, because you have to heat up a little shot.
But practically for businesses, like you see a Keurig lots of times for our guests who are sitting in the waiting room.
Oh, definitely.
Like all those kind of things. There's definitely added benefit to that, because then also like your individuals who are working for you don't have to like make the coffee like every day. Hey, make sure you make coffee for our guests who are coming and our customers who are coming. It's just like have this sitting there, and we have something available for them all the time.
Yeah. There are positive aspects. I think they're outweighed by the
personal
quality.
use, absolutely.
Yeah,
especially it is nice going to my mother-in-law's though, and it's just like, hey, I can wake up and make the coffee for myself, and
I will certainly still drink it. It's not like it's disgusting coffee. It's just you can definitely tell the difference between Keurig and like a French press, for example. There are 2 more that I really know not much about. There's a pour over, pretty self-explanatory. You have like your little cone deal that you put the grounds in and the filter, and then you just pour hot water over it right into the cup. Good to go.
There you go.
I don't believe it's very efficient for the same reasons as the percolator when you're doing such a small amount of coffee. It just goes right through the beans, and there you have it. And then the AeroPress, which these are press type deals. It really looks like somebody just, if you look at it on Amazon or something, it's an AeroPress coffee maker, and they're little discs of filters, and basically all you do is you use pressure and you shove hot water through the grounds, through a filter, and in less than a minute, you have apparently ridiculously awesome coffee. Superficially, one of the reasons that I haven't tried it is that it looks like a homemade little gadget. Like there's really not much to it, and I'm like, what? How does this even work? But from what I've heard and gathered, the people who use it sing its praises. It's like a French press, but cooler and faster.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm watching a GIF of it right now. It's kind of interesting. Just pour the stuff, pour the water, pack it in, stir it, and just shove it through into your cup.
Yeah. So it's like a more intense pour over that uses all the grounds.
It's a shove over.
It's a shove over.
Interesting.
Yeah. So those are the main. There's also a bun deal, which is essentially like a percolator. It's just a little faster. I don't know how those work. They're really expensive. They're more for commercial applications.
Oh, like the big, large coffee. Yeah. That would essentially be a percolator too. Yep.
So today we are drinking.
What is it, John?
Peaberry Kenya coffee. It's from
Nyeri
Kagunyu. And in a few episodes when we get to it, we'll talk about why peaberry coffee is different than regular berry coffee.
When we get to the berries.
Yes.
What's our next step in our journey after that people can look forward to in John's Coffee Corner?
Well, I suppose before the brewing you would have the grinding. So we will talk about grinding.
Very nice. Beans. Grinding beans. Coffee beans. People. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Jeez.
Come on. It's you guys' problems. All right.
So the flavor notes of this coffee, craft caramel sweetness, tart blackberry, cranberry notes, rindy citrus, coconut milk, intense sweetness, fruited notes.
Wild Kenya espresso.
Yeah. And they recommend roasting but keeping it between city and full city, which we talked about, I think, last episode.
Yeah, episode 1. Not episode 1. Season 1. Like within our final 2 episodes, I think we talked about.
Oh, okay. Yep. So there you have it.
That's wonderful, John. Thank you for bringing us into your corner.
Now you may leave.
Leave Get my out. Corner. All right. Well, we've chit-chatted. We've gotten some coffee education. Hopefully you are better coffee connoisseurs now and thinking about, you know what actually would be cool is if you try a new method of brewing your coffee, let us know in the comments. We would be interested to know, especially if you try something like a cold press or a pour over or that arrow thing that you can get for like $25 at Target. Let us know a different method that you've tried and if you like it or not. So that would be, I think, a cool way to talk with us on the Facebooks. So anything else, Johnny, before we dive into it?
We are diving.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hold your breath.
Enter in with us to the fresh roast. So something happened last night.
I can't think of what.
Our predictions were
terribly wrong.
Way off. Samsonite. We were way off.
I think my prediction was born of desperate
desire?
Hope rather than the reality of America.
So we had some friends over and we were playing poker while we were watching the results. And as soon as Trump took Florida, well, before he actually was declared it, you were looking at the numbers of Florida and Ohio.
Yeah.
As soon as you saw those numbers, I'm like, man, those are going to lean Trump. I'm like, I don't see any way that she wins. And she didn't. Yep. I mean, it just like Trump took it, man. The people came out and voted for Trump. Just flat out. They came out.
I kept thinking that the Hillary meters would kind of swing back her way as she took more states. But it started her way and just kept sliding all the way across. Yeah. What do we think about this? What do we do?
My first thoughts is like, wow, I'm just surprised. I really did think that the states that were Democratic last time would remain Democratic, and that was the big difference. I mean, there were
I was
multiple
shocked at
states
how
that
close.
flipped. Yeah, multiple states that flipped. It's also, I didn't think about this, but someone brought it to my attention while we were playing poker, was it's really, really hard after 2 years of one party in the presidential seat to go to a third term in the same party. That like doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just on the onset of it, I was very surprised. Obviously, there are lots of reactions going on social media.
It's pretty crazy.
Everywhere. It's pretty nuts. Some people legitimately feel like their safety is threatened, and what do we do? How do we? I mean, I saw one individual who put a post on Facebook and just asking, I want to know Trump supporters, like without like us like really going into arguments, legitimately, how do you answer the question of, I want to tell my kids to be good, don't be a bully, be kind to others, be accepting to others. And then we elected a president that doesn't seem that way, you know? And so like legitimately asking that question, how do I talk to my kids? How do I, you know, so it was just, there's a lot of confusion. There's obviously on another side of the spectrum, there's a lot of, they're just happy that the system is going to change. At least they hope it does. Mm-hmm. Time will tell what the heck happens.
Yep.
It can go 1,000 different ways. Honestly, I just, yeah, I am. It's interesting. It's just it's very, very interesting. It could be very scary. In my opinion, it could be scary. But it's interesting.
That's something I've been thinking about. I know people on social media who have been kind of making their voices heard for their friends who are now kind of not sure.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to be able to stay here long term? And just kind of gauging my own reactions to that and my own feeling of security. And then I remembered, like, I am the demographic that voted for Trump.
Sure. So
I have very, very little to worry about.
Yeah.
And I think it's important moving forward in this next presidency that we keep in mind the marginalized. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's been kind of politicized a lot. Like the Democrats have really gone for, you'd call them special interests or what have you. But I mean, if Somali immigrants live in America and they are citizens, they are Americans.
Yeah.
They're not less Americans than I am. Mm-hmm. And their opinion counts.
Yep.
We need to make sure that
they
feel as safe as we do.
Matt Chandler had a great tweet that I retweeted earlier this morning, which is, the church will have credibility where she fights for diversity, loves the poor, and welcomes the immigrant. Keep this in mind as we pray.
Yeah.
And I think that, I guess when thinking about the election and what our purpose is in thinking about what do we really want to talk about is Christian response. Why are Christians in love with politics so much? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong when thinking about politics, when thinking about our government? I mean, 80% of white evangelicals voted for Trump in this election.
That's me.
Yeah.
Except it's not me.
Except it wasn't you or me. At what level should Christians really be involved and care about politics? How does it, at what level? I mean, what Chandler's kind of talking about here is a call to the church to rise above whatever circumstances are going on and fulfilling its mandated calls by Christ. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the issues I kind of have, is I feel like the church in general has put, while we do lip service to God's on the throne no matter what's going on, is that we terminate our hope on government completing certain things and doing certain things. And the church has not, for the most part, been the advocate for the marginalized, the hurting, the poor, the hungry.
Right.
And
not on a large scale.
Not on on the large scale. But so certainly there's groups that are doing this phenomenally well. But in general in America, I think that the church has terminated hope on those things becoming something that the government either does or motivates people to do through either lack of policy or policy, right? Yeah. So while one side of the gambit would say let's make policies to help people and take care of them in these ways, another side of the aisle would say, well, let's make policies that motivate people to take care of these things themselves. Either way, whatever position you take, as a member of the Church of Christ and our ultimate thinking about and having perspective about the kingdom, that should be motivating us to be doing those things no matter what goes on.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're lacking in that tremendously. What do you think?
Definitely. Well, I mean, I think I don't know how I want to phrase this. I feel like there is a massive sigh of relief that went on in the evangelical sphere when they found out that Trump won.
And I hate that word.
Trump?
Evangelical.
Oh, fair enough.
I think the meaning of that has just changed so dramatically, but
probably you're right.
Is me.
Anyway, and I guess I would caution people not to freak out too much, and not to lay back too much.
Yep.
Kind of however you feel like this election has gone, all of our problems are not solved. This is the beginning of a long journey, and whether it's a disappointment or an encouragement based on your political affiliation, that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a political change that happened at the highest level, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm
do Christians
worried.
put way too much hope into this in general? You think in America about politics and the government? Do we put too much?
That is my perception.
Yeah.
I know there are probably a lot of people who backed Trump who would say that they didn't. They just recognized that he was their candidate.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I have seen the title of a book floating around called God's Chaos Candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I just disagree with the premise.
Yeah.
I think the idea of putting religious or spiritual emphasis to that extreme onto a candidate that, I mean, is not even great.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
he might shake things up and do what God needs him to do and all that kind of stuff, but to, I guess, throw our religious fervor behind him just seems weird.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I kind of take the same approach that we've put too much stake into or have increased the role of government in fulfilling the mandate that Christ gave the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read one quote that says, when the moral, and they were talking about the involvement of Christians in politics, and they were taking more of a stance of you need to be very involved. And it was, when the moral and righteous people of God do not take it upon themselves to vote or run for office, they are carelessly leaving the fate of the future generations in the hands of the wicked and immoral. And that, dear brothers and sisters, is not loving your neighbor as yourself. I disagree with that statement by the sheer fact of I am not relying on the government's involvement for the church to fulfill its mandate.
Right.
And so regardless of now, can it be a tool for the church? Sure, but I'm not relying on that tool for the church to go do what it's called to do. In no way was Jesus dependent upon Caesar making sure that people were healed, people were fed, and the gospel message was proclaimed about your sins being forgiven.
Yep.
He wasn't dependent upon that. I mean, in the early church, you couldn't vote for your leaders. I mean, it was just a flat out, like the system itself is built upon irregardless of what the government system is. The church design and the mysteries of the church is irrelevant to what the surrounding circumstances are bringing. Your mandate's the same.
Mm-hmm.
So church, I mean, we need to rise up and feed the poor. Feed the hungry, take care of the poor.
Well, we could feed the poor.
We could feed the poor too, I guess.
Chances are good.
Chances are good they need feeding. To me, no matter who was going to be president, I saw Craig Rochelle, I think, say this on one of his sermons. He said, "Hey, listen, I got a prophecy for you. You guys ready? If one candidate wins, it's going to get worse, and if the other candidate wins, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
I got something for you. It's probably just going to get worse before it gets better, no matter who is taking it. Going to the end times now, maybe we'll be talking about end times with another individual, and maybe he thinks maybe it won't ever get worse. Maybe it's only going to get better. I don't know, but I think what Groeschel was talking about, though, is you got to have the right perspective in all of this. And is there dangerous things that could possibly happen with Trump? With people's rights, maybe, yeah. There could be certainly some dangerous things and dangerous propaganda that goes out, and things that stir up within the American people that are very, very, very ugly. Yeah, but what's the church's response? And I think as a Christian, if we take the perspective of, I'm going to love my neighbor as myself, I'm going to love God with everything that I got, and I'm going to serve him because I love him so much. Regardless of what's going on around us, we can be a light in a dark place. Yep. That should be our focus. Are we being a light in a dark place? I mean, Jesus made it really simple for us to figure out, like, be a light, serve people. If you're walking past a homeless person to get to your Trump rally and you don't serve them, there's a problem. You missed it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I personally take issue with landing on the same side politically as those who back Trump and also belong to the KKK.
Yeah.
That to me is sort of a red flag.
Yeah.
And it's possible that, this was still the will of God and this is what's coming to America and whatever. But there are definitely some red flags that don't just go away because, the people voted.
Well, yeah. Because it's if this is obviously in the permissive will of God, I mean, he's going to be president, right? So, it's regardless of whether or not God is allowing this and willing this to happen, that does not mean that we don't stand for righteousness and can disagree with the person.
Absolutely.
God uses has used people in history to judge his people and the nations and the world, and doesn't mean like if he used somebody to judge something that we just now had to agree with that person. Mm-hmm. That's not what it means.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it's scary. There can be some scary things.
Yep.
But we have Hillary actually said it today. Like, we have to give him an opportunity to lead and lead well.
Well, he got it.
Yep,
we gave it to him.
We're giving him the opportunity.
Speaking of, I wanted to bring up, which is interesting because prior to this election, it was sort of like a one-time deal and whatever. But now it's happened twice where the popular vote and the electoral vote has not agreed. Mm-hmm. So I've been hearing a lot of social media, right? Recent history. Mm-hmm. I've been hearing a lot of stuff on social media about the people have spoken, they want Trump. In reality, there are 200,000 more people who wanted Hillary than Trump. Now, the way the Electoral College works out, and I don't know if we want to get into all of the minutia who goes where and what happens and how they vote. Mm-hmm. They are not bound by popular vote to vote the way that their states go. 99% of the time, I think they do. But if you look at the disparity between popular vote and electoral college vote, if the electoral college was not a thing, you would have seen Democratic presidents since George Sr., I believe.
Yep.
Because
Gore would have won.
Yep. Gore would have won in 2000. And then Hillary would win today.
Yep.
So that's an interesting piece just to keep in the back of your pocket. Is this really what America wants? I mean, definitely a significant portion of people want Trump, but not the majority.
Not the majority. things Trump has promised and will he deliver? I put this in the notes, just like things I was thinking of, and I know he has. I'll want to take notes later on too, of just like looking back at all of his campaigning and things and promises that he has made, and finding out over the next 4 years how did that really get shaped. Did he really tackle it? Has he really been the thing people think he was going to be and have hoped? Because I know many Christians are voting for I hope he's going to do the right thing. Yep. Like, I think he can. I think he can shake it up. No real plan, no real like step process, but I think he can do it, so I'm going to vote for him. But one of the things he said is, I'm going to put Hillary behind bars. Is that going to happen? State borders. One thing I would actually look forward to him actually completing is if he can remove the borders for insurance companies on states.
Yep. Cool.
And making competition
for health insurance.
For health insurance. He says he's going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Is that really going to happen? Now there's control in both the Senate and the House of Republicans, so it looks like there's probably a good chance that would happen.
By the way, it looks like he will also be electing conservative-leaning justices. Which means that,
but we still got to wait till those people die. I saw one person's quote like, "I am praying so fervently for the health of these two people over the next 4 years."
Oh my goodness! Which, if that happens, it'll be the first time that all the branches of government have been Republican controlled since 1928.
Oh my goodness!
Which is insane.
Yeah. Immigration reform items. He said he's going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. Is that really going to happen? Ending sanctuary cities. Criminal aliens are going home. He said he's not going to allow certain people to come into this country without absolute perfect documentation. He's going to end H-1B and institute an absolute requirement to hire American workers first for every visa and immigration program, no exceptions. Like, are these things really going to happen? Law and order, he said. I'm going to bring law and order. So will crime increase or decrease over the next 4 years?
Very interesting.
Eliminating the debt. I'm going to get rid of that debt by cutting taxes and doing all these things. Is that really going to happen? And then there's U.S. Supreme Court. Many voted for Trump hoping that he will elect people to the Supreme Court to end Roe versus Wade. Is that really going to happen?
He said he's going to eliminate the debt by cutting taxes?
That's part of his tax plan, is cutting taxes. So if he wants to eliminate,
but you're not going to get any more revenue if you get rid of.
Well, welcome to the argument, Johnny. Yeah, like
okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
let me catch up here. Yeah, so I'm guessing an increase in military spending.
Yep, he wants to make the military bigger while also cutting taxes,
which is
and
just
eliminating
a head scratcher.
Debt. Yeah. I don't know.
And a wall, but don't worry, we're not going to pay for it.
And a wall that we're not going to pay for.
And we're getting out of debt.
Yeah,
in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm just looking. I'm not looking forward to, but I want to see what happens. Like, because it's one of those things of putting my hope in a person that so many people did in their vote this year. Is I'm putting my hope in this person to do what he says he thinks he will probably might try to do, but he hasn't given a plan really of how it's going to happen.
Yep.
To me, that was a crazy moral gymnastic to take, like with the unrighteous elements of this person, just being so blatant, and his promises that he's making, the gymnastics to say there's the possibility he could make the right decision, and I'm going to overlook all of the things that I have already seen in him. To me, was like, I can't see how somebody can justify that.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what's he really gonna do.
There are positives, I think, still in the Republican Party that I am looking forward to having happen. Hopefully, we'll see what happens on the pro-life front.
Oh, sure.
For example, that's really the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
But anyway. My issue, my fear, I guess, if you want to put a large term on it, is not so much who Donald Trump is as a person, which is interesting to say.
Yeah.
But the culture of Donald Trump as president.
Yeah.
And that's been.
But that's my fear, is that the culture is going to stem a lot from his personality and his person. And
oh, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Yeah. I'm willing to deal with the fact that he insults everybody that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
That to me is like, okay, we'll get over that. My problem is, and this I read this in an article somewhere, I can't remember where. It said that the problem with the Trump campaign is that it was born and carried out of resentment.
Yeah.
There's not a single positive thing that is being built from this experience. It's all hatred and insecurity.
Yep.
And like I say, there are maybe some positives that will come out of this. I tweeted out this morning, election thoughts. Democrats have their work cut out for them in 2020.
Yeah.
The GOP is surprisingly alive and well. Did not see that coming at all. I mean,
that's
national sweep.
Yeah, I would argue whether or not what that is anymore. I couldn't consider it GOP. I couldn't consider what the movement is on what Trump is, and labeling this as the GOP. It seems like it's what has stemmed. The analogy that came to my head was we have terrorism that we tried to defeat in Afghanistan with our wars with Bush, and then eventually what grew out of that was ISIS. We had the Tea Party that kind of started years ago, and what has grown out of that is Donald Trump.
Right.
So whether or not that's an appropriate analogy, that's the first thing that just popped in my head. If you're gonna,
the evolution seems to be bad.
Smack me on the social medias, go ahead. But that was my brainstorm thought. Is just like, I don't think you could call it the GOP anymore. But because I think that does injustice to GOP individuals who did stand up against this guy.
For sure. There are a lot of people who disavowed Trump.
Yeah. And a lot of spineless ones who said they would and didn't. So, I mean, it's both ways.
There's a lot of definitely, I think the political landscape is being shaken. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are happy about that. And a lot of people are like, say what?
Yeah.
So we'll see. All I gotta say is this better be good for the babies, because I know that's a big part of the conservative religious right.
Yep.
And if nothing happens, no more Republicans for me, man.
Well, I mean, they're putting so much hope into this being the issue that gets changed, and my opinion is I doubt anything's going to change people. We'll don't see it happening.
I would like for it to happen.
Absolutely, I would too. But if I had to predict, as great as I am predicting on this show, that I just don't think anything's going to change. Yeah. And by the way, while Obama has been in office for the last 4 years, he, in agreement with the Affordable Care Act, repealed or has kept in play the Mexico City Act, which eliminated funding for international companies for abortions, which is what executive order has been placed since Reagan took office. So that, like, we have been the same the last 4 years as far as funding for abortions that we have been for other Republican presidents, as we have now with the last 4 years we have with Obama.
Sure.
Which is funny when you mentioned that when people arguing, well, Obama's so awful, what has he done? And I said, we talk about the Affordable Care. I'm like, did you know that this was part of the agreement? And they're like, no, I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, we argue about babies, but it's been the exact same atmosphere the last 4 years legally as it has been with every other Republican president since Reagan. So I'm like, there's sometimes there needs to be some perspective here. So
and in the interest of specificity, I mean, I'll just say I would like to see Roe v. Wade overturned.
Sure, absolutely.
If that happens, that faith restored to an extent. If it doesn't, I don't know what else will change.
What we do, we keep serving, we keep loving, we keep spreading the gospel, and we keep helping and funding and providing for opportunities like the Life Care Pregnancy Center in Morris, which provides options for women to realize what they have out there available for them to keep their babies. So with that, should we get to our segments, our roasted review?
Sure.
Okay, roasted review. I went and saw The Accountant.
But why?
Because it was a double date and it was fun.
Oh.
And I enjoyed it. I thought it was there was some good, just subtle humor, ironic situations that were funny.
Was it politically charged at all?
No.
Okay.
It not that I can remember. It was just a good, violent, shoot 'em up movie. I don't know. It was entertaining. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, such deep thought. It was just an entertaining movie. It was cool because like we went with Matt and Kelsey, and there were only a few other couples like in the movie theater, and we were the only ones laughing at the most hysterical points in the film. And we were like afterwards, like, why wasn't anybody else laughing? That was so funny. We were kind of maybe a little bit obnoxious with our laughing. It was good. Jeez. But for my review, I would say you can certainly wait for this movie to come out on DVD, Netflix, or your local Redbox. I don't know if I'd pay the money again to go see it in the theater, but definitely something that you could use as an entertainment value when you're looking for something to rent for the day. I would give it 3.5 beans.
Cool.
Go, Johnny. What do you got?
I am reviewing There Will Be Blood.
What is that?
It's a movie that came out in 2007. Stars Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay.
And I remember it coming out and seeing the posters, and a lot of people were like, that looks stupid. I was like, okay. So I didn't see it. I saw it maybe a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it won Best Picture and Best Actor, maybe. Anyway,
wow.
It's super intense, super long.
Is this the one with what is it about?
Okay, it's based on an Upton Sinclair novel called Oil, and it's about a dude at the turn of the century who's like this oil tycoon.
Oh, okay.
And he goes into this area completely on his own by himself,
mm-hmm.
buys up a bunch of land, works really, really hard, strikes oil, and basically just hates people.
Oh, okay.
So like the whole time,
it's like a family movie.
Right. Yeah, totally family movie. So the whole time he's like, appeasing these people as he's trying to buy their property.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's just a facade. Like he absolutely cannot stand people.
Okay.
And so it's a really crazy, like kind of character sketch. It's pretty intense. Like I say, I really like it.
Yeah.
I give it 4 beans.
Whoa, 4.
Depending on who you are and your interests, it may go as low as 2.
Because of like violent stuff and
is
there nudity?
No. And I don't think there's a whole lot of language either. It's just very intense and pretty weird. So if you like,
is it a mind bender kind of like crazy? Like, man, I can't believe how based on the character, it kind of
not
like
psychological at all.
Oh, okay.
I loved the character. I loved the way that Daniel Day-Lewis portrayed things.
Okay.
It's very engaging. Like I was it's strange in that not a whole lot takes place. Like it's certainly not an action movie, but I was on the edge of my seat like the whole time.
Okay.
The first like 20 minutes or something, there's no dialogue. And you're just like, what's going to happen next? The whole time.
Wow.
A lot of cool quotes. If you've ever seen the phrase, I drink your milkshake, comes from this movie.
Oh.
Just little fun fact.
I drink your milkshake.
Yep.
I bring all your boys to the yard.
That's something else, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, so 4 beans out of me. I like it a lot. I just bought the DVD.
Oh.
Actually.
You liked it enough to buy the DVD?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like $1 more than renting it off of Amazon.
Okay.
So I'm like, of course I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll see it multiple times throughout my life. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
all right.
that.
Well, yeah, that has been our election review on the Roasted Christian Podcast. Hopefully you are more informed and have something to come back with us. Thanks for all the people who have been commenting on our last episode about alcohol.
Yeah, that was fun.
We
appreciate
great
that
conversations. Dan Odegaard, Rick Sundstrom, Jody, you just really came out and gave some great feedback. Really appreciated it. So thanks for your comments and looking forward to more of them.
You'll notice we're not requesting feedback on this episode.
Yeah, except about what coffee style your new brewing
True.
technique is going to be.
Yep.
So this has been the Rusted Christian Podcast, and I'm Bobby.
I'm John.
Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
This episode is produced by Pet Fox Studios. Pet Fox Studios is a recording studio in Morris, Minnesota. Visit petfoxstudios.com for more information.